Never let a woman shame you for having sexual desire. I'm Paul, apexmindset.net to book a consultation. Like the video, share the video, subscribe, hit the notification bell. Let's have a quick conversation about female shaming tactics, okay? So, a lot of times women will want to use you for your time, your energy, your attention. She pushes you into that beta male category, and then she'll shame you for showing sexual interest. She's using you as a resource selfishly and then wants to admonish you or rebuke you for having an interest sexually. That's something that you never tolerate. Okay. Alpha males are not apologetic about their sexual desire and with what they want. And it's almost like when they do that, it's kind of like a big shit test in a way, right? Where they're going to admonish you for having sexual desire, and then you're the beta or weaker male will go, oh no, or I'm sorry, or I didn't mean to disrespect you. Listen, having sexual desire for somebody isn't by itself disrespectful. Now, sure, being inappropriate with somebody or being really sexually explicit at the wrong time in the wrong place or in a non-calibrated way, those things could be disrespectful depending on the context, correct? But having desire for somebody and demonstrating that or showing that or letting somebody know, that's not disrespectful. That's just being a guy who is out in the dating market. But see, the problem is if you were a alpha male that she found attractive, she would understand that and accept that. See, there's an ingrained instinctual drive to want to prevent beta males. And again, I'm categorizing with the beta and alpha thing, but you understand the weaker beta males that she doesn't consider, in her opinion or her belief, doesn't consider are viable mating partners. There is an instinctual drive to make sure that the betas don't mate, right? Not just with them, but with anybody. Okay. Beta males are treated with disdain by women and going back to tribal times in a way, right? They'll use them for resources, they'll use them in a transactional exchange, but they want to make sure that that guy is kept in line and isn't about to, stick his manhood into anybody else or her for that matter, except for with her limits, because she wants to make sure that he doesn't have offspring. The offspring of a beta or weaker male is going to be a drain on resources for the tribe. That's the cold hard truth. So she wants to mate with the alphas. She wants to ensure that the alphas and the dominant sexual options mate, even with her and as well as possibly other members of the tribe. So they're not upset when the alpha male has sexual interest. Where they get upset is when the beta males step outside of their reproductive control and stop pining for them and doing things for them and expects to have sexual access too. That's when all of a sudden they pull the outrage card. Okay. And so I haven't had this or even experienced this dynamic in like very long time. So I forget about it. But I had a client come talk to me about this. And I remember when I was younger and I wasn't as good or as calibrated with women. And although I had a lot of alpha traits, I betatized myself and a simp for women when I was like in high school, early college, and it was pretty much greatly unattractive. Okay. And so when I was unattractive to women due to my weaker behavior, I found that this dynamic was in place. This would happen to me where a girl would expect you to offer your friendship, your resources, your emotional resources, your time, your energy, and dedicate those things to you. But if you were to show sexual interest at all, she would then rebuke you and admonish you. All right. Not just I thought you were my friend, because there is a level of that when a guy does friendship fraud and really wants something more. That can be little bit divisive and confusing for a girl. So it's not so much blaming her for that, but it's the, oh, you just want sex and you don't care about me for anything else. And you're just you're just a dirtbag guy. You're just a jerk like the rest of them, that kind of crap. Right. Meanwhile, so she guilts you for wanting sexual access and having desires that you didn't even, because you're the weaker male, right? Didn't even present to her in a gross or explicit or terrible way, right? You're probably as respectful as you could be, and yet she's going to rebuke you and admonish you for that. But if you were the jerk who was sexually explicit and, told her up and down whatever, and she saw you as a sexual object, she'd be banging you, right? And so that's that dynamic there. And the key of it is you guys, again, I haven't been in it's been decades since I've had anything like this happen to me. But then I was reminded when one of my clients had told me about this little situation he had been in. I was like, oh, you know what? Guys are in this situation a lot, actually. And so what it boils down to is you guys got to start protecting your time and your energy. The first step to being considered a high genetic option by women is to start treating yourself like you're a high genetic option with women. That means treating yourself as the prize. That means having standards for who you spend your time with, how much F's that you're actually given, how you spend your energy, how you spend your resources, and not to spend them with women that don't recognize your reproductive value. Okay. Now, if you're platonically friends with a girl and it's genuine friendship where you're not trying to have sex with her or something and she's part of your social circle, that's fine. I'm not talking about that, but I'm talking about where you have sexual interest. She knows it. You know it. You have to dance around and pretend like you don't. Well, she uses you for your time, resources, and energy. And as soon as you pull the curtain back and show what reality is and say, by the way, I am sexually interested in you. And by the way, you know that, you continue to call me and ask me for stuff and have me come out with you and utilize me as a resource, but I'm sexually interested. As soon as you pull that curtain aside and show what's behind it, all of a sudden outrage, all of a sudden, how dare you, all of a sudden, it's you shouldn't be, you're a big jerk, just like you're just wanting the sex, just like the rest of them, right? It's a shaming and rebuking. And what you do is you don't put up with that. Okay. So it starts off with boundaries. Now, first of all, you have friends with girls, you talk to girls, you DM and Facebook with some of these women, and you're sexually interested. They're not sexually interested. They're putting you in that friend category. So you need to stop doing that. Okay. Right at that point, when you have a conversation, when she reaches out to you to see how you're doing and seeks attention from you, you don't give away your attention to somebody that you're sexually interested in unless she is demonstrating that she is also interested and sees your reproductive value as well. Right. And so when she's not seeing your reproductive value and you're interested in having her see that and pursuing something, you simply tell her, listen, I enjoy talking to you, I enjoy spending time with you, but I want to have something non-platonic with you. And I think you know that. I'm attracted to you. I think you know that. So unless you're calling me for us to go hang out and see where things go, I'm not going to be hanging out with you or spending much time with you. All right. Now, she'll be outraged right then, but that's okay. Let her be outraged. When I took myself out of the friend zone I had put myself in when I was younger, I remember doing this. One of them ended up having sex with me a few weeks later. The other one that I distinctly remember, I think there was like a third too somewhere in there, ended up just dropping off. And you know what? For the better. Okay. They didn't see my reproductive value. They were using me as a resource. They weren't my friends. These girls are not your friends. They're using you. Women are genetically wired to use men for their time, attention, energy, and resources. And they will do it if you allow it, because you're not valuing yourself. You're demonstrating you're a beta male by allowing that to happen. So unless there's a genuine friendship there where you're platonic, don't do that. Don't allow for that to happen. And these girls will drop off. You'll find that they didn't care about your friendship all that much, and that they certainly don't care about your reproductive value either. And so let these women drop off, okay? Because you need to put your attention, time, and energy into women that actually value you as a sexual being. So that's first thing, is you're just going to have that conversation with women who want to keep you in that friend zone, right? Now, what you'll often have is what happened to my friend and client here, which is they'll call anyway after you've had that discussion. Hey, you know, I'm really interested in something more with you. So I have an attraction to you. I think you know that. I'm interested in pursuing something beyond some sort of friendship. So unless you're open to that idea, we're not going to hang out, right? He set that hard boundary. She had nothing to say for a few weeks, and then she calls him up and says, hey, how about be my date for my birthday? Okay, whatever. He had known this girl for a while, and that's fine. Okay, so she should have an understanding based on the conversation they had and the boundaries that he had set. And because she called him saying, be my date, right? And he was going to be around some social circles and people where he knew people there too, right? So it would be, you know, stand to reason that this is not a friend date, right? Not to girls, okay? Not to girls that want to shit test you and test your frame and who think you're a beta weak ass male, okay? And this is why you need to establish that. So he probably should have said no because it was a group scenario. He probably should have said, I got plans. Why don't we celebrate your birthday next week? Just you and I, and you can come over. So that would have been the first answer, right? Is to make sure that she is earning your time and energy, attention through her sexual desire and attention and interest right away. Not because you're bargaining for sexual interest, but the whole point is you're not going to put a bunch of energy and time and waste an evening and possibly pay for stuff, right? And do the song and dance with a girl you're attracted to who is only going to use you for the song and dance and not show attraction back. Like that's the whole point, right? That's a boundary. So with that boundary, if she's not sexually interested, fine, go find another friend to go on a friend date, right? But if she is sexually interested, then fine. Come on over. We'll have a bottle of wine, maybe some dinner, see where things go, and escalate sexually there, right? That would be the way to do it, is a one-on-one scenario where you're not in this situation with a bunch of other people and friends where sexual escalation and attraction and desire really can't be built. Not with somebody, and again, I've done the group thing and been very successful with that where I go. So I'm not saying as a rule, most of you guys, I know there's the pickup guys out there will be like, as a rule, you never meet up with a girl if she's out with other people and stuff like that. I've been very successful making that work for me. There's a way in which to do it. It's another video. Okay. There's a way when you meet up with a girl and socially, and you're doing it from a position of power and she's demonstrating desire and attraction to you, then it's fine. And there's a way to manage that social environment. Now, a lot of you guys aren't there yet. So best for most of you not to put yourself there, but there's a way to do it. But in this case, if you are in the friend zone and you had set a hard boundary, probably don't go out with her and a bunch of friends where she can continue to demonstrate the same social dynamic that had been there for a while, which is you being a platonic friend, right? You set a boundary, said, hey, I'm interested in something more. She should understand that, and she should be on a one-on-one date with you where you can pursue that sexual relationship. Okay. And so anyway, so that was first mistake, was probably going on it in the first place, but that's fine. He made that mistake. He went. Now she was with him like he was on a date, flirting with him, even grabbed his junk, right? And was grabbing on him and stuff like when they were out. Okay. Now, she also started flirting with some other people too. Started flirting with the other guys that were there, letting other guys put hands on her and stuff like that. This made him realize that she was just out being a little party girl sleut, right? And wanted just the sexual attention from a bunch of men. And he was pretty much one of those. So he should have done what he had done, which is leave. Okay. He made sure she had a ride home. He excused himself. I'm going to go. All right. And he bounced because why is he in a situation where he is competing and vying for other men for attention, for sexual attention from her? Right? That's not what the standard is here. Okay. So I'm glad that she gets to fuel her ego, but he does not need to allow her to do that at his expense. He does the right thing, he leaves. Well, her friend texts him and says, hey, we're going back. They're leaving wherever they were at, going back to like the house or somewhere where they're going to be staying at. Come on out with us. Come meet us. All right. So, okay, cool. So he decides to go meet him. I wouldn't have done that. I wouldn't have answered my phone. So that's mistake strike two. I wouldn't have had anything to say. All right. She can think about me, wonder about me the rest of the night. I'm gone. I'd also have other women I'd be hanging out with. I wouldn't even be out with this girl to begin with. But that's just, again, that's me. Mistake. He's learning lessons here. Mistake number two, he goes back to the house. All right. Now, this is a woman who's demonstrated sexual interest into him. She has treated him like they're on a date, touched his junk, right? All kinds of stuff. There's physical play a little bit back and forth, right? So she's acting non-platonic with him. Now, granted, she's actually acting like kind of a little bit of a sleut, all right, or a garden tool. Censor myself for YouTube here, but whatever. There's an interest there. So whatever the evening rolls out to an end, they go to sleep in the same bed together. They're making out and stuff. She rolls over and says, you only came out because you were just interested in sex, and rebukes him for having sexual interest in her. So let's review. He tells her, I'm not interested in seeing you unless you're interested in seeing me non-platonically and pursuing a sexual relationship. Thing number one. She calls him, asks him out on a date, treats them like they're actually kind of together on a date. Thing number two. Yeah, she crosses a bunch of boundaries on top of it, and she's messing around, flirting with other guys, acting inappropriate. What would amount to being inappropriate if you're out with a guy on a date, disrespectful, right? So she's disrespected him in that way. He comes back, whatever, they're still physical, they're escalating. And then she cuts the sex off, turns around and says that. What she is a piece of trash who is after attention from beta males. Okay. And anyone who gives her attention with her acting like that is behaving in a weaker fashion. And so what he ended up, I think he just went to bed, sleep, and then left. But what he should have done was told her, hold on. So after you were touching me, flirting with me, and being physical with me, you're going to turn around and say that after I've been with you the whole night, to include after you disrespected me? I'm sorry, but you're a piece of garbage. Don't ever call me again. Put your shoes on and then leave. You're not going to yell, but you're simply going to tell her what it is. All right? You're going to walk out the door. That's what you should have done. I wouldn't have been there in the first place, but if that's what she had said to me, she would have gotten that earful, not in a yelling, whatever, but in a calm, calculated manner. I would have told her exactly the type of trash that she is, and I would have walked out the door. Now, if any of her little friends and people in the social circle who wants to jump on the sister Uber Alice and back girlfriend up were to want to talk to me, what would the answer be? Hey, listen, we were supposed to be on a date. I told her I was interested in something more than just friendship, and she knew that. And she was treating me like we were on a date, to include grabbing my D when we were out and stuff and people weren't looking. She acted disrespectful to me, but I let that slide. And now she's mad at me because I was making out with her and escalating a little bit when we're sleeping in the same bed together. I'm sorry, but she's not anybody I ever want to talk to again. And that's, if you have that conversation with her, any of her girlfriends that try to call you out, anybody in that social circle, there's nobody that is going to go against you with that. All right. You act like the alpha male, women will actually back you up. Okay. Because I've seen it happen before, and my LTR works at a bar too. So she sees this a lot, where some girl will be hanging out with a guy. The guy's buying the drinks, hanging out with her, putting the attention into her. She had texted him, called him. They're out together, okay? And then she'll go, "Oh, I'm just so uncomfortable with him. I think he might try something." Treating him like he's like a rapist or something like that. That happened to a guy I also know too, where he was out. He was, of course, stupid and oblivious, but he's out with this girl, paying for all of her stuff, thinking he's like out with her, and then she's behind his back saying that, acting like he's a sexual predator. And then in front of his face, she goes back and gets another drink, and he's hanging all over him. And as actually one of the girls that were involved knew him and knew her and knew what was going on, separated the two, said, "You know what? You're not going anywhere with that guy. We're going to take you home." And actually ended it right there, because not because the guy was doing anything wrong, but because she was a risk of her hashtag me tooing this guy. You see what I mean? Or making some claim that he's some sort of sexual predator. Trust me, this guy was the furthest thing from it. Right. And with that situation, he was doing nothing of the case, and he wasn't even being disrespectful or anything like that. So there's girls out there who will use you for your time, attention, energy, and will even take it to the point of claiming sexual assault, or claiming like you're creepy or you're weird or you're some kind of a predator for showing sexual interest. Back when I was bad with girls, I would have girls who would do the friend zone thing with me, and I would very respectfully and not in a very beta-like way demonstrate that I might be interested in them. And they would turn around and act like, "Oh, he's like I think he's like a stalker." That was the big craze back in the late 90s, was to call every guy that was interested in you a stalker. I remember some girl when I was in high school used to call every guy who thought she was cute, and she was a cute girl back then, a stalker. You know what I mean? Oh, okay, you're gonna claim that some guy's a stalker, like some guy's a violent criminal because he's sexually interested in you? This is the crazy crap that some of these women do, and they prey on betas and weak males. They prey on these guys, and because they know that they can manipulate them for attention, and then turn around and pretend like he's the bad guy for having sexual interest. And again, I'm not talking about crossing massive boundaries and being sexually aggressive and doing sexual assault or rapey type of things, right? I'm not talking about that type of behavior at all. I'm talking about weak males who are trying to pursue something with a girl, and she is just using them up and just eating up and soaking up that attention he's giving her, and then rebuking him for it, and shaming and admonishing him for it, embarrassing him for it in front of social circles. That's what I'm talking about. And again, it's been a long time since that's ever been a thing for me, because I kind of figured this stuff out when I was really young. But it occurred to me that a lot of you guys will put yourself in these situations because you haven't quite figured it out with girls yet. You're too nice. You don't know how to separate yourself and demonstrate that you're an alpha male. And so a lot of your behaviors will send beta signals, and this will cause girls like this to cross those boundaries with you, and to invite you out, treat you like, and use you for your energy, time, friendship, money, okay, labor, and then turn around and then shame you for it because you might have been interested in her besides just platonically, and that makes you a bad person. So what you do is you never accept it. That is a massive step for some of you, and stepping into your alpha male self and killing that beta male side of yourself, right? Is that you just set a standard for yourself. And I'm not some of these guys on these channels who are real extreme in order to get like more viewers and more hits and more likes, whatever. I'm not that guy. So I'm not going to sit here and tell you, okay, never be friends with a girl or whatever. You got to understand the friendship dynamic between men and women is different than two men or two women. You do need to understand that it's not the same, but you can be platonic with women. That's totally fine. But you're not going to be platonic and have sexual interest, because that's bad on you as a guy. That's a fraudulent friendship. You're not really her friend. You're trying to sleep with her. All right. So don't be a weak vagina. All right. Don't be a weak ass guy. Be clear about what you want and be true to yourself about those things. But part of that, okay, you're true to yourself. Don't hang out with girls platonically to don't recognize your reproductive value that you're interested in. Don't do that to yourself, right? So that's step number one. Step number two, if you were in a friend zone with a girl and you just cut it off and you made it clear, just like I had said earlier in the video, hey, we hang out, understand I'm interested in pursuing something else with you, not just a friendship. That means that you do things with her that aren't friendship things, like actual dates where it's just you and her and sex can happen. You know what I mean? Don't let her suck you into, manipulate you into a friend scenario, okay, where you're out in social events. Going to social events that you're with women that you're sexually interested in is reserved for women you're already banging. You understand? She has already demonstrated her sexual interest in banging you, and now you can go out together as a couple. All right. Being out with her like you're a couple or like you're dating with somebody is reserved for somebody you're actually dating, which means there's a sexual exchange there and sexual interest there that's being clearly demonstrated. Not somebody that isn't sure yet, not somebody that had you friend zoned before. You see what I mean? So that's the first step right there. You make that boundary and standard, you'll never run into this problem again. But you find yourself in a scenario like you could find yourself on that one-on-one date with this girl who had you in that friend zone, and then she's keeping it platonic, and then she gives you the lecture of, I just want to be friends. And then you say, well, I don't want to be friends. I already told you I'm interested in something else. So I'm going to leave now. I'll see you later. And then when she goes to shame you or rebuke you for your sexual interest, you say to her, listen, I'm not going to be admonished for being interested in somebody. That's not something I'm going to do. You should be ashamed of yourself for trying to use me for my resources, my time, and energy when I've set a clear boundary. And that's it. If you need to say anything, I usually wouldn't say need to say anything at all. I'll just remove my attention. But if you were to need to say anything at all, that would be what you would say. I'd certainly have something to say about it if I was in bed with a girl after she was demonstrating sexual interests, and then she turns around and says, you just wanted to sleep with me. Oh, really? You know what? Now I don't want to sleep with you, nor do I ever want to talk to you or see you again. Later, biatch. All right. That's how that goes. Okay. So there are girls out there. This guy, my client and friend, had this conversation with you. He sent me some messages this morning before my 9:00 appointment. And he was like, dude, this happened. I was like, oh, I need to do a video on this, because this is something that this is something that a lot of you guys are going through right now, especially you guys are a little bit more blue pilled and aren't quite on board yet with what the game is yet, right? This is something situation some of you guys put yourself in. So I'm just going to have this video out here and tell you, never put up with it. Never put up with a girl shaming you or admonishing you for sexual interest. Okay. Never put up with that. You just remove your F's, right? You remove your time, your energy, attention from that person. When you're behaving like an alpha, that'll happen to you very rarely, if never. Okay. It's when you're opening yourself up to being that beta, not just provider, but the beta that's going to give away your attention, time, and energy as if it's not worth anything. When you open yourself up to being that guy, that's when they treat you. They put you in the beta male category. Doesn't mean you are a beta male. It just means that's how you're behaving, right? They put you in that category. And then if you show any reproductive interest at all, they basically stomp their feet. Their chimpanzee brain goes, you're not of reproductive value. So stop trying to do things reproductively because it could end up with a baby that we'll have to kill or leave in the woods or that drains our resources. That's what her chimpanzee brain is jumping up and down and saying when she says, oh, what a jerk. You mean he really just wanted to kiss you about the end of the night when you hung out on a date? Oh, what a jerk. You mean he won't just be your friend and instead wants something more than a friendship and whatever? He just wants to have sex with you. Oh, that's what that is, right? Chimpanzee hopping up and down and saying, no babies for you because you're too weak and you're a beta male. All right. So, so when you stop giving a crap about their shaming tactics and their bullshit, right? And you put them in their place and don't give away your energy and time, things will change for you real hardcore, right? You might lose a few women in your life that you have convinced yourself are friends that aren't your friend, and that's a good thing, okay? But what you'll gain is your damn dignity back, right? And you'll gain your alpha presence and status within your social circles, and you'll gain respect from women. Women will start seeing you as the sexual object that they need to start seeing you as. Even your platonic female friends need to respect and see you as a good match for somebody. If they don't, kick them to the curb. Thanks again for the support.